relative to Wells Fargo. So Wells Fargo is in hot water again with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You might remember the CFPB, basically the brainchild of Elizabeth Warren. And here is the headline about Wells Fargo this morning. Regulators caught Wells Fargo and other banks in probe over mortgage pricing discrimination. And so what the allegation is here is relative to discounts. So if you're a mortgage officer over at Wells Fargo and you have a applicant who might not do business with Wells Fargo because they're saying, hey, I have a better offer over at XYZ Bank. Wells Fargo, can you meet or beat my offer from Rockland Trust or Bank of America or wherever? And in that case, you would have to go to a supervisor and basically say, hey, can we do a little bit better on this loan? Just like buying a car, right? Right. Go talk to your manager. And the thing is that they give out these discounts, and because it's a fair housing situation, there's supposed to be tracking on that. And for the tracking that they do have, from what we learned from the CFPB today, is Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, is that a percent that were received by African American and women applicants was lower than the percentage of discounts received by others. Now, when you hear that headline right off the bat, you're like, ooh, Wells Fargo, they're racist. Basically, that's the conclusion that you should draw. But let's take a deeper look on this story. They received an official notice from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau on problems with its usage of rate discounts. They hired a law firm, blah, blah, blah. And according to the CFPB, statistical significant disparities in rates in which Black and female borrowers got pricing exemptions compared with other customers. In other words, discounts. Let's go into a little bit deeper here. The practice used for decades across the home loan industry has triggered regulators' interest in recent years over possible violations of fair lending laws. Black and female borrowers got fewer pricing exemptions than other customers, the Bureau found. Here's the problem with anything that I've looked in on this story. Any detail that you find on this story doesn't answer this question, which leads me to believe they did not control for it. Excuse me. So, yes, they seem to have found a lower rate of discounts for African American and female applicants. But unless you control additionally for their creditworthiness to begin with, and unless you control for that, then it's not discriminatory. It's plainly not discriminatory. Unless you just control for the creditworthiness of the application, you cannot hold Wells Fargo responsible for the creditworthiness of the applicants. It's the applicant's problem or society writ large, but we cannot blame Wells Fargo for that. And nowhere in this story do they actually indicate, and none of the other media that I've read actually indicates that they controlled for the creditworthiness of the applicant. In fact, if you were to not control for the creditworthiness of the applicant and therefore also insist that the percentage of discount be the same, that is discriminatory. Some people might call that equity, but that is actually discriminatory. If you're giving out discounts at the same percentage and you're not taking into effect the creditworthiness of the client, that is discriminatory, right? That is absolutely discriminatory. So the problem here is the statistics. Wells Fargo, by the way, is up until recently the biggest player in U.S. mortgages and repeatedly felt regulators' wrath over missteps in home loans. So you might remember, and I was kind of critical of Wells Fargo in doing this, they basically pulled out of the mortgage business and they decided that they were going to focus their loan portfolio on African American clients almost exclusively, if I'm not mistaken, as part of the renewed focus on supporting undeserved communities through our special purpose credit program. We have spent more than $100 million over the last year to help more minority families achieve and sustain home ownership, including offering deep discounts on mortgage rates. Wells Fargo is already offering deep discounts on mortgage rates, especially for African American applicants. And this has been now their focus for the mortgage business. They're already basically doing everything that the CFPB and Elizabeth Warren would want them to do. But yet, here's another huge headline that says basically, read between the lines, Wells Fargo's racist. So